Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Relationship Atlas podcast. I'm your host, Coach Atlas, and today I'm actually releasing this episode both on my YouTube and on my podcast, which is called the Relationship Atlas. And the reason being is because this is a special episode. We're talking about 5 things from 5 years together. Gabby and I just celebrated our 5 year anniversary, 5 years of accumulated time together. And what I love about this is there's still so much to uncover and unfold when it comes to our relationship experience, meaning how much we still have to share with you. And Gabby and I are also talking about putting together a podcast where we have a lot of great conversations about a lot of topics, including our history together. And so, a quick synopsis, or rather just a quick, FYI, we actually started our journey 7 years ago. So 7 years ago is when we started, and we're only celebrating our fifth year anniversary. And so, again, 5 years accumulated time together means so much to us because of how many experiences we've gone through, both together and individually over the last 7 years. Right, quick context there. We were not together for a year and a half, somewhere in there. We actually didn't speak for that year and a half. And we like to call that experience, among other ones, death portals. We have died theoretically and been reborn so many freaking times in this relationship. And I think in a lot of ways that can scare people off to trusting our relationship, but also trusting their own. If you can't figure it out consistently over time and just keep battling through, then, is it just fake? Is it just attachment? Is it just addiction? And there are so many points of proof out there that have been shared where death portals are massively necessary for relationships as long as they're taken in the correct forms and as long as they're repaired fully. I can think of past relationships where I could call a separation a death portal, but nothing was burning alive. There was no heated experience. I wasn't being asked to stay in the fire of my own experience. I wasn't being asked to face myself deeply and intensely with and without my partner. I was never asked to grow. And if I was, I wasn't answering the call. And so when that reuniting of two phoenixes came together, it wasn't new people, it was the same people. And so when I think about my relationship, I think about those death portals as brutal and tough and so heated between me and me. And yet I stayed in the fire, and so did she. In our own ways, we stayed in the fire. We burnt ourselves alive because what we knew is that what's going to come on the other side is more powerful than if we don't enter this fire at all. So today, that's not the topic of our conversation, but I love talking about our relationship because I don't know, there's just so many great things that have happened that are also really tough. And we've learned so much. And so let's just get into this. Let's talk about 5 things that I've taken from the last 5 years that really stood out to me in reflection of our time together. And the first one I found hilarious when I first wrote it down. The first one I wrote is I won't ever have it all figured out. This one is a loud one for me. I think about the earlier stages of our relationship where I really was just I'm just going to figure it all out because I have all the answers. Of course I have all the answers. But when I didn't have the answers, that's when things really started to get fiery, difficult, uneasy. Conflict came from my inability to accept the fact that I didn't have it all figured out. And I had spent a lot of time in relationships before we got together. I was a serial monogamist. It wasn't until about 2.5 years before Gabby and I really started our journey together that I decided to stop that trend and take time away from relationships for a couple of years. It turned out to be about 2.5 years. I didn't mean for it to be that way, but I really thought that by that point, okay, I got it all figured out. I also came across a lot of narratives like, don't do it until you have it all figured out. And I had a lot of pressure on me as a man to have things all figured out, or at least that was my perception of what masculinity was going to be or is in the world, right? Think about the wise man just seems to know all. It's kind of what I was trying to achieve in my 20s. And so I won't have it all figured out is a multifaceted conversation. One, it was a lesson that took a long time to learn, meaning it was less about having it all figured out and it was more about being willing to learn what it's going to take to figure it out. It meant being open to other people having different answers. It meant being vulnerable and open to my partner maybe actually having the answer I don't right now. It means I will continue to learn about my past, about where I want to go in the future, and about this moment. Every moment is a learning opportunity. I was just doing some reflection on some of the books that I read, and in there was a conversation around the concept of conflict. And it said, what if we just saw conflict as learning? What if we just saw it as learning? And I really couldn't get that earlier on in our relationship or in any of my past relationships. I couldn't see it as I'm learning both about myself and about my partner right now. And also, I'm learning about our relationship. Every point of conflict or tension is learning. And so, if that's the case, then that actually really does mean I won't ever have all the answers, but I will be on a continuous journey of learning new ones. This also really helped in reflection, helped me realize that we've tried so many systems in our relationship, tried so many different approaches. And even just knowing that, here's all the things that we've tried, and here's the things that worked, and here's the things that didn't, means I didn't have it figured out then. I don't have it figured out now, but I've learned so much, and our relationship now operates so much more effectively because I was willing to start to face that. I really don't know it all. And I have to stop thinking that way because when I stop thinking that way, I take away opportunity for our relationship to grow. I take away opportunity for her to grow, for me to grow, for us to grow, for everything in my life to grow. I'm basically saying, I'm good. Let's stunt this growth right now. I already have the answers. So I don't have it all, or I won't ever have it all figured out. Helps take the pressure off. It helps create some ease in the process where I can walk into situations with the understanding that I might get this wrong. That was tough. It's not as tough anymore. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it still irks me a little bit, still gets me, and I don't respond as well as I'd like to. And that's okay. Because again, in that there's tension, and in the tension is learning. I won't have it all figured out was the number one thing that I wrote down. Number two, the story that I am telling myself is, God, listen, it's a simple phrase. We've heard it before. It's more of a mental approach to handling situations. It's not so much body. And usually a body approach is more powerful. But this one for me, being able to linguistically share what's coming up for me from a position of ownership and accountability without knowing and being okay without knowing the absolute truth has been an absolute game changer for me. This simple statement, I mean, I'm gonna triple down on this. I'm gonna quadruple down on this. I don't know what's bigger than quadruple, quintuple. I'm gonna that's a weird word. Quintuple down on this. The story I am telling myself is how many points of conflict I don't even know have been prevented because of this conversation that Gabby and I have agreed to having around the story that I'm telling myself is crazy. It's so multifaceted. Here's the first piece is I own and take full accountability for my perception. Just in that of itself is a game changer. I am not saying you are responsible for my experience. I am not saying you are at fault for what I am thinking or feeling. I am not saying that this is all about you. I am noticing a feeling in my body and the story that is being created in my mind as it perceives that feeling is this. Or again, the story I am telling myself is because everything is driven by a story. And so when I can tune into that story and share that story rather than, I can't believe you did this. Why would you ever do that? You're so wrong. This doesn't make any sense. None of that has any prevalent, um, none of that is prevalent to what we're trying to go after here. Right. And so when I own the story from ownership and accountability, I'm taking away so much of the heat that comes from saying you're responsible for my story. It's incredibly different. I know too, when she shares the story I'm telling myself, I don't feel defensive at all. There is no, what's there to be defensive about? What is there to take personally? It's not about me. She has acknowledged there's a story alive for her. There's a high chance that we're all the time projecting our own story. So, what if we notice and actually honor the fact that we're projecting that story? Then what? Just did the whole, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, I've done this about 6 times now. That for me has been huge. Now, I don't want to only live in the world of it's been huge for my relationship because if you can hear it correctly, if you're listening to what I'm saying, if you can really get this, what you'll also get is that this has been a massive game changer for my own healing. Because how easy it is to avoid healing by telling the other person that they're the problem, they're at fault, they're the reason. The reality is that I am being faced with a part of myself that I may not like or may not have a relationship with. And so when I own my story, I'm actually acknowledging that part of me in a way that can create healing for myself. The story that I am telling myself has helped mitigate so much conflict with my partner, so much conflict with myself, so much conflict with other people. It takes away the, well, I don't know why you would think this. It's, hey, the story I'm telling myself is there's something else there. Is there any truth to that? You know what I mean? Think about that. Think about the way that that shifts a conversation, if whether it's with your partner or whether with your friend. In my relationship, though, specifically, the story I am telling myself has drastically changed things and is something we continue to practice aggressively to this day. I don't think it's something we'll ever give up because again, I'm not sure if a relationship can exist in harmony frequently without full accountability and responsibility and ownership for our own experience. That's a passion rant. This was a loud one for me, and I'm really happy that it came up this morning in my reflection. Let's move to number three. This one was a bit more of an emotional processing this morning, but the number three for me from the 5 things from 5 years is my attachment style is not a prison. My attachment style is not a prison. I think about the early years of all my relationships. I had no clue why I was behaving the way that I was. Not a damn clue. I was young. They say your prefrontal cortex doesn't develop till you're 25. That makes sense. Beyond that, it's like it still didn't develop. It was delayed, is my interpretation, because I think about the difficulties that I was having in relationships and not necessarily at the time because I really thought I wasn't doing anything wrong. But at the time, it was just what was arriving in my life. It was the way things were going, or rather, the where they weren't going. And it was in reflection, so much of an attachment style at play. So when we really started to have this social media rising of psychological warfare, where we learned every single tiny detail about our brains and about our behaviors and about relationships and therapy and all of these different modalities, attachment styles, gaslighting, toxic relationships. The holistic psychologist really exploded the world too when she blew up from her platform sharing all this information. We learned so much. And I remember thinking in those times, like, wow, that's me. She would share details about the anxious attachment style, and I would think to myself, that's me. I can see that. How crazy. I have a name for it now. If you don't know, there's a lot of theories or also science proving that if you can name it, you can tame it. So this was really empowering for me. But the difference was at the time when I first learned it, the difference between now and then is then I thought, well, this is going to be with me forever. It's a lifelong journey. And that was both calming and also disempowering. I thought to myself, I will never get through this. So let's not even really try. Let's learn better systems, but I'll never get through this. And again, that has helped. But where I've come to today, man, where I have come to today from the intentional work over the last 5 years is that part of me is so irrelevant. Not because I've killed it, not because I'm avoiding it, not because I've chosen to lock it up in some sort of internal prison, but because I have continuously acknowledged its presence, actively owned when it is alive, shared when I know it's contributing to the conversation, walked into the room with it together inside of me, having conversations with that part of me, or that rather that version of me that I'm stuck in when I'm anxious like that. The relationship that I've built with that, it's as if we're just walking through life together, not I will walk up into a point where then I just smack into it. It's so different now. And this is what I believe has allowed me to have moments like this morning where I could think to myself, man, 75th year anniversary down the road. I wonder what that's going to look like. Because I know how much we've grown and I know how much we have yet to grow and I know how much unfolding we still have to do as individuals and as a couple. And so it's so interesting to witness the reality that my attachment style is not a prison. It's not somewhere I have to stay. It's not something that's got me locked up. It's not something that will never go away. And for a lot of you who are listening, I don't know if you're just learning about yours or if you did learn about yours, or if you think that it's best to just settle into the reality that it will always be there. I will agree that there will be small micro moments somewhere down the line. But what I've started to determine is it really my anxious attachment style, quote, quote, anymore? Or is it really just a natural response to the environment that I'm faced with right now? And I get to choose which direction I go in because I have built a life full of accountability and ownership, but also a life full of power and control over the decisions that I make. Is it just that? Or is it my anxious attachment style? One helps me really feel empowered and alive and directional, and the other one, I don't know, kind of settles me into this. I don't want to call it as far as victim mindset, but it can be interpreted that way. So when I took control of this, it really helped my relationship dynamic and continues to help my relationship dynamic because I don't say, hey, sorry, that was just my anxious attachment style anymore. I say, hey, listen, here's where I messed up. Here's where I own my behaviors. I don't want to behave that way. Here's what I'm going to do about it. Completely different conversation. So, yes, it was really helpful to name it, to help tame it. And now I've taken that beyond and I've moved forward. It's time to move forward from that. And that's where there's freedom. I feel more free again because my attachment style is not a prison. Huge. That was number three. So, number one, I won't have it all figured out. Makes me laugh every time. Number two, the phrase, the story I am telling myself is that should have just been number one. And then number three, my attachment style is not a prison. Here's number four. I wrote these two words down for number four: honesty and authenticity. Do I need to explain? Do I not? In a lot of ways, they're self-explanatory, but let's quickly describe the two. They're very closely correlated. I think to be authentic is to be your honest self in a way. But in a lot of ways, when you are authentic, you don't withhold your truth. So again, they kind of dance together. So maybe we lean into authenticity more because that's what resonates with me. But how it started, how authenticity started for our relationship was through honesty. Honesty meaning we made an agreement together early on in our relationship that we would be honest always. And I'm not going to lie, that was really tough. That was really difficult. And it wasn't as if we were going out of our way to share difficult truths that would bother the other person and say, I hope you're not bothered by this. Hey, this is however you respond is your story. We didn't take that approach. In fact, whenever we did share the truth, we actually weren't at the stage of the story I'm telling myself is. So everything was taken personally. So it was a really difficult time, as you can imagine, having conversations where we would have needed to share the truth and both of us just taking the truths personally. Very, very difficult. So we started there. Then we moved into more of an authentic approach, or yeah, authenticity as being the forefront of our relationship. And why I see a difference is because authenticity, I'm going to go with the phrase, it's a bit of a softer approach, meaning honesty can be thrown at people. Honesty can be manipulated in a way on how it's delivered. Honesty can yeah, you've heard the phrase, it's just the truth. It's just my truth, right? It can be phrased in the ways of, that's just me being honest. You can manipulate the way you're honest. But authenticity, I'm not sure is necessarily ever disrespectful or harmful to other people. I don't think that if we're being our true self as a human being, we are ever in a form of intentional harming or manipulating. And so in if that's the case, then authenticity is really where we've leaned because even though this is my truth, I understand it's my truth. I understand that it's the story I'm telling myself. I understand that it is a strong belief held loosely. I understand that my authenticity is constantly unfolding. It's not a black and white honest truth. And so that allows some malleability, some growth, some evolution to not only what I'm saying, but to who I'm becoming. So when I talk about how authenticity has helped my relationship, I would say that we have both given each other the space to be authentic. Weird, right? Think about it. We're giving each other the space to be authentic. And if you heard what I just said, if you really understand what I just said around authenticity being an evolution, then you'll know that we're giving each other space to grow and evolve as individuals coming together, taking the journey on. And really early on, I remember us trying to get that right. We said at all times possible because we were worried about our codependency habits, our enmeshment habits. And so we prided ourselves on putting one hand up next to the other hand and saying it's just a journey of two hands, going side by side together down the journey. The problem was we didn't know what we were doing. And so we ended up becoming a fist of two hands walking the down together. We became one. And it took away the opportunity to be authentic because if one of us tried to pull out of this cohesive unit of oneness, right? Then all of a sudden now we're arguing, right? We're scared, we're confused. Why are you different than me? Where are you going? Are you sure you still choose me if you go over there? We just weren't getting it right. Or rather, we were doing our best with what we knew, and it was beating up against each other. And so it took us a long time to really get, okay, if we're going to be authentic in this relationship, that means authenticity is not oneness. Authenticity is you, and me, bringing that together, bringing what we have to offer as individuals together. And again, it took us a long time to figure that out. We didn't know what it meant to walk through the world together side by side. Instead of becoming one person doing life together, it was two people doing life together. It's incredibly different energy. And it has allowed us to have, I'll use the word freedom, or rather the feeling of freedom. It's taken away so much pressure that we used to have on our relationship. It has taken away so much intensity and it's created a lot more ease, which was scary at first, a lot more peace, which was also scary at first. And it has created opportunity for us. For example, we just did 9 months long distance. I was in Dallas working. She was here in Calgary. We did long distance for nine months. Thinking about that being anywhere near a possibility in the first couple of years of our relationship, no way. No way. Because it would mean it would be two people choosing this, living separately, in separate worlds, living separate lives. And our codependency and enmeshment would never allow it. And so honesty and authenticity really started to become prevalent for us. Honesty started, authenticity followed. And now it's a little bit like still a journey, right? Of like I'm still learning different things about her. She's got different processes that previously she would probably share, and now she's doing on her own. And then I'm discovering later. And she's got this whole other career separate from me. And again, it might sound weird, but it took us a long time, right? Not every relationship is like this, but it took us a long time to figure out our ways of authenticity and how we weren't being authentic and where we needed to start being authentic. Huge, huge, huge thing for us. Something that will continue to unfold. Number five, the very last thing, five of the 5 things from 5 years. 5 things, 5 years. This one is more of a personal thing for me, but it extends into her experience too. Why I say that is because as a man specifically, this is where I have struggled the most. And this is where I have found the most reward, if you will, for change. And this is also where she's a lot better at. She gets this a little bit more based on her experience, and I would argue being a woman. Number 5 for me is the necessity of being grounded, present, and connected to my body. Without this, I completely lack any desire, intimacy, empathy, emotional intelligence, connection, care. It's a pretty stark contrast between ungrounded and grounded in my relationship dynamic. It is a stark contrast between lack of presence and being present. And this one, for me, it is a almost horrifically stark contrast between being disconnected from my body and being connected to it and what that does for my relationship. Here's the thing. I used to think that, my relationship being the one and all and the everything was a bad thing. And the reason that I thought that was because I thought, well, okay, well, what about me? Where do I get to fit in all this? If it's just everything and it's all my focus, well, then doesn't that mean it's an addiction? And doesn't that mean it's, there's no other life? And so it took me a while to really understand that in a way that works. And the way that it works is by understanding that my relationship is where I have the greatest opportunity to grow spiritually, emotionally, mentally, whatever. Every aspect of my growth 10x's through my relationship. So no matter what I get outside of this relationship, I can lose. I'm good with losing, but I'm not good with losing this. And so that was something that was interesting to learn. And why it was interesting to learn is because I started to reorient the ways in which I prioritize things, right? We all know what it's like to not be grounded. Grounded meaning settled, grounded meaning calm. We all know what it's like to not be present, distracted, lost in thought, stressed, overwhelmed, worried, in fear response. And we know, if we're really paying attention, what it means to be disconnected to our bodies. As a man, you may be able to make the assumption that because you're horny, you're connected to your body. I disagree. A lot of my experience of that is actually anxiety. And I've translated it to being horny. Very different thing here, right? So I'm actually not connected to my body. I'm still connected to a story about a feeling. I'm not settled. I'm not in it without interpretation. I don't get it. And so when I am far from myself, which historically is very, very much of the time, then I'm then therefore far from my partner, and I'm far from any sort of growth, evolution, or connection within my relationship. I'm so far from it. But when I am not, this was, I guess, the difficult part for me, is there's actually an overwhelmingly large amount available to me when I am present, grounded, and connected to my body. Overwhelming. Colors are different out in the world. My connection to people I don't know through the streets, just by walking past them, not saying a word, not even making eye contact, is different. Walking my dogs is different. Hugging my partner is different. Everything is different. Sex is different. There isn't anything that is not different between grounded, present, and connected to my body versus ungrounded, lacking presence, and disconnected to my body. Not only does it help me do all those things, see color more clearly, feel more alive and energetic, feel more content with my experience, ease my anxiety, whatever, you name it. Not only does it do those, but what it allows me to then take on, I get to look at my partner's eyes for what feels like the first time because I've been so distracted with my damn work and my future plans. I'm a future tripper. She's a past tripper. So sometimes we butt heads in that. But I've noticed a lot of men are future trippers. We're tripping on things that don't exist in the future and they're causing issues here now. Right. And so when I stop future tripping and I settle that in and I'm allowed to be here with my body and with this experience, I can actually look at her, which is weird, right? I can actually pay attention. I have more capacity to be honest and authentic. I have more capacity to hold her experience because I'm holding mine really well. And I just have more capacity to hold life, right? I talked about this last time, capacity being how much you can hold. What's your max capacity moment, right? You're, let's say, a 50-liter jug of capacity and the world keeps adding shit in there and at some point it explodes, right? How big is your capacity? And all of this work of grounded, present, and connected to my body has opened up more and more capacity. Now I'm 1,000-liter jug. That's just the truth. So I can hold so much more of my experience, of her experience, of our experience, of the direction we're going, of the things that we're taking on together, of the next steps, of what life is throwing at us around AI and Trump and Elon and Canada's government. You know what I mean? Like there's so much more I can hold. I'm less bothered. I'm less anxious. I'm less stressed. And I am more accessible to her. And that took me a while to learn. I didn't get that at first. I was super distracted. I would beat myself up often. I remember there's a whole phase of our relationship where I was a mess. I was an absolute disaster because I couldn't, let me rephrase. I didn't have the capacity that I needed for that experience. I didn't have it yet. And I didn't know how to build it. And so I didn't necessarily explode because my version of exploding was really taking myself out of life. Right. I have a history of suicidal ideation. So I would take myself out with that idea. Be like, well, what's the point? I would go into depression. I'd go into hiding. And I wouldn't be able to interact with people, let alone myself. I didn't have the capacity yet. And I didn't know how to build it. So building my capacity to be grounded, to be present, and to be connected to my body, one of the greatest things I've ever done. And continue to do. This is not something that I have reached a pinnacle of. It's something that I continue to challenge myself with. Right? I have this great friend of mine who wants to share on social media more often, and I always poke the bear like, "Hey, do it today. Hey, do it today. Hey, do it today." And there's micro moments where he does it, and in that, what he is doing is he is building his capacity for discomfort. He can hold more now. It comes easier. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about being grounded, present, and connected to my body. We talk about meditation, right? How long can you meditate for? How can you, and more importantly, the question is, how much capacity do you have for nothing? When you're looking your partner in the eye, how long until you have to look away? That's your capacity for closeness and connection, your capacity for intimacy, right? How long after sex can you just lay there for? That's your capacity for emotion and connection and intimacy. How long can you sit on your deck and just look at the world? How long can you do that for? Or rather, how long until it takes you to get out of your lack of presence and into presence? That's been my journey. It's not about how long I can sit there for. It's about how long does it take me to get out of all of the things I'm worrying about to just witness the things that are happening around me. Sometimes it's actually 10 to 15 minutes. Right? So you think about the impact that has on my relationship. It's 10 to 15 minutes. I'll get back to you with whatever you said in 10 to 15. So again, I say this from the sense of I've worked through a lot of shame around this for myself. I'm moving into an entirely different dynamic for myself around this. And what that has allowed me to do is connect with Gabby in completely different ways, right? It's changed our ability to have a future together, to feel safe and confident in where we're at, where we're going, to feel connected in deeper ways, ways that are like, whoa, to have sex that is incredibly intimate and deep that we've never had before, and just to feel more all aligned in so many different ways, simply just because of my ability to stay grounded and present and connected to my body. And when I don't, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious when I'm not there because I'm not always there. But I know that's the place to return to. Because even in that, if I can return to the groundedness, the present, and the connected to my body, I can get to the story I am telling myself is quicker. I can get to the reality that I won't have it all figured out quicker. I can get to authenticity quicker. It's less effort because I'm putting in the effort prior to that to connect to my body, to be grounded, to be present. Those are 5 things from 5 years. I hope there's some value in there for you. If there's not, that's okay too. I'm just glad that you were here to listen if you made it this far. I have a huge, huge passion for relationships, but I have a huge passion for my own. I love what we're building here. I love what's the next steps. We just got some exciting news last night of another next step that's going to offer us so much unfolding and another opportunity to grow and elevate and rise from the ashes, right? We are already feeling the heat of this next stage. And so for us, like I said at the beginning, this is just the beginning. So thank you for watching. I look forward to hearing your feedback or any comments you have about this episode. I would love to hear your thoughts around the podcast itself. So if you're on YouTube right now, head over to the Relationship Atlas podcast, where I release episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. YouTube is a little bit more infrequent because I appreciate the audio form of podcasting and the ability to fire out quick ideas, quick thoughts. The idea being that it's clean, concise, consistent coaching for you, where you never are feeling left out or there is never a lack of an availability for you to get support or to learn something new about how to create a healthier, happier relationship. I believe that this platform, both visual and audio, is an opportunity for us to connect as humans, to separate ourselves from ChatGPT and AI and get back to the human form of relating, the human form of healing, and the human form of expanding together and just figuring out how to do this life together. So I really encourage you, if you want to take this work to the next level, if you're curious on how to build more of a 5-year relationship dynamic and how to know that there's still many more years down the road, or if you're in a state of dis-ease or struggle in your relationship and you're looking to get out, I'm your guy. I'm a relationship coach for a reason. I dedicate my life to this work for a reason, and I would love nothing more than to be a part of your journey. Otherwise, please like, please subscribe. I appreciate you. Celebrate with us. Go to Gabby's page, go to my page, and celebrate with us a little bit. Drop in the comments. Go celebrate her. That woman is incredible. There she is right there, just sharing everything with me. So I love all you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.